Mics are live, Maude. Mics are live.
Double
Really?
I made up a song, everyone. It's about having two monitors. Double monitor bliss, double monitor bliss, double monitor bliss.
Hi.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Double Monitor Bliss. Nerdist Book Club. Welcome to Nerdist Book Club. This is the best online book club on the planet. We'll challenge anybody. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a very special week because we're starting a brand new book, but it's the second in a series of books. And I'm Hector, joined by some of my besties in the whole planet, Rachel and Maude. Hi, guys. Good to see you.
Hi. Hello.
I hope everyone paid attention to Nerdist's Twitter account and saw that we had a drinking game last week and brought their beveraginos.
I'm really glad that I'm out, it's on the internet officially, just what my life is like in quarantine. So
yeah. You just, you were drinking at work. That's what your life is like in quarantine.
I love the fact that at the moment as well, we switched things around on broadcasting, and we now can see a feed from all the comments from not only YouTube, but also on Geek and Sundry's Twitch and on Facebook. So if you're talking, we can see it now, which is fantastic. And it's going to be super interactive and wonderful.
Yeah, you can see the little icons. Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Twitch, and that's so neat. Yay, says Miss Necromancer. That's so cool. For all of you on Facebook, tell Zuckerberg we said what's up and to just be better. But hi, everybody. Hi. Hi. Hi.
We needed to highlight Brad, and we all need to virtually give Brad a cuddle. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no.
Right before the show. I'm
Brad.
so sorry. Dogs are family members, and they are, this is something that I wanted to put some spotlight on because, I want to pour my heart out to the moment in the situation, because I feel like pets get a little bit of a, I'm sorry. And you're like, are you kidding me? It's
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Well, a lot of people are sharing their love to Brad right now. Brad, thank you so much for hanging out with us after, you had probably a pretty tough week. Exactly. It's been a hard week. So we really thank you. We really appreciate you watching. We appreciate everybody watching. Like Maude pointed out earlier, we're live streaming on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. That's pretty cool. If you're new to Nerdist Book Club, please introduce yourselves in any of those various chats and let us know some of your favorite books. So tonight, like I said earlier, we are continuing our read through of the entire Shadow and Bone trilogy because of the new Netflix show that's coming out. The book trilogy is by Leigh Bardugo, just in time for that adaptation. It's coming April 23rd on Netflix, April 23rd. And if you missed our coverage of the first book, we only read it over 2 weeks. So it's pretty easy to catch up. You can head over to the Nerdist YouTube channel to watch those episodes and then kind of jump in with us. But we are out of magic school. Sorry, Maude. And we are on the open seas in Siege and Storm. Boom.
Yes, we are.
The next one we're reading. Yes, we are. First thing is first. We read about half of the book in this past week, and then we're going to take another week to cover the second half. And then after that, you guessed it, we're jumping into the third book of the trilogy. But first thing is first, I want to know from my amazing co-hosts, as well as everybody in all the various chats, what is your initial impression of this book? Maude's going first because she hasn't read it yet. Maude.
It gets better and better. I'm loving this because they told quite a complete story in a way. We set up the world in the first book. We kind of understood the lore and the magic and the purpose of it all. And at the end, I was like, well, they got the stag collar. Like, what's happening? Oh, we're going to do a little bit of a Name of the Wind thing, and we're going to go into child folk lore where we're going to discover things about the hero's journey. But I like that it pivoted in a really great way. And I guess we're talking spoilers since we're talking about this book, but there was a throwaway comment made by Jenya about the royal lineage that we have seen unfold in the last book that we're seeing unfold in this book. And I really liked that because I just didn't like, they're going to be on the road, they can't go back, what's happening? So it's really steering ship pun, but it's steering its way back into a really cool plot line that I'm about. And we're getting introduced to a slew of new characters, which I usually get a little bit worried about because it's like, to stay invested. If there's a whole new lot of characters and plotline and whatever, you're like, this is a whole new book and I'm not comfortable and this isn't familiar. But it does a really good job of keeping you intrigued with this.
Would you say like the Chow Owl book in the Throne of Glass series, K-Owl, where they end on a huge cliffhanger for most of the main characters? Yes. When I first started that book, which we also read the first Throne of Glass book on Nerdist Book Club, if you want to check that out. But I just remember they follow one character. His name's K-Owl. We called him Chow Owl.
Chow Owl.
That's how it's spelled. It's spelled very weirdly. Wow. And kind of Italian, actually. But they go off to this whole new land with almost all new characters. And at first I was like, what is happening? You left my main character in this precarious situation. But by the end, it ended up being one of my favorites in the series. And I think this one does handle new character introductions well, where there aren't too many, and they end up, I think, as you were saying, Maude, tying back into the main narrative.
Oh, Elena has actually read on, even though we're supposed to stop at chapter 13. But you know what? That stop at is a very blurry line as far as I'm concerned. Miss Necromancer, I'd love to address that comment because it's so funny. With all these new characters, they're making Mal look lamer and lamer. Something that I thought was really interesting, because we did have that conversation last week, is Mal awesome or lame? And it was kind of split down the middle. This part of the book, gosh, they will really want to shoehorn in there. Well, he's so good looking, but he's so good looking.
Oh, great! What a redeeming quality.
Hey, listen, I gotta address our Facebook friend here, Ileana. She might be referring to the second half of the reading for this week. I don't know, because even that was even a little split, where it's like the first half was them on the run, and then the second half was like heading back to the sort of royal shenanigans, if you will. So we don't know what she was referring to, but I was seeing a lot of comments in the chat. I know that Miss Necromancer was one of them, kind of saying like enjoying this book more than the first last week, enjoying this story more than the first. Miss Necromancer hadn't read the second book. She'd read the first one, I guess, a while back, but then because of our book club, pushed through and got into the second book. And she said, I'm glad I did because I'm enjoying it much more. So a lot of agreements between the folks there chatting in YouTube, which is pretty cool. Rachel, what did you think on this reread? What are your sort of thoughts right now? This is the second time you've read this series. This is your second read through. Okay. How are you feeling? Don't spoil stuff in this book or in the third one, but how are you feeling?
Oh, okay. I was going to, but now that you
yeah. Go ahead, Kate's comment.
I know how you do. What did Kate say?
Mal smacks of that guy who just can't handle his girlfriend being more successful than him, so he's almost about it. Kate just described so many of my previous relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
I loved the second book. I think is my favorite in the trilogy. And I have really kind of been trying to think about how I felt about the characters and their arcs the first read through, and what kind of stood out to me and frustrated me somewhat. Some things in a good way, some, in ways that, as we talked about last week, especially the adaptation is probably going to address anyway. Mm-hmm. But I love the second book, and we have now all met my favorite character.
Nikolai. AKA Pup, AKA Nikolai.
Nikolai.
AKA not a pirate. He's a privateer. It is also a prince. So that's a lot of P words for Pup there, but I'm about it. How did he change his appearance, though? Is that a fabricator doing that, or is he like a mild shapeshifter?
Did he just have like a
Baralki, like Genya with the makeup?
Yeah, just like a Mission Impossible mask. Like he had a fake chin and a fake nose. Like finally here, and it's Grisha. I was like, okay, that's It's so funny that in a story full of
handsome
in a
YA novel, they're all so good looking.
Yeah, it's so funny how in a story full of like magic and like mystical beings and chosen one powers and stuff, that you can get to a section like that where then you read it and you go, prosthetics, I don't know if I buy that a person could look, I don't know.
Oh right, it was his fabric. So it is a fabricator. Yeah.
Hey, before I share my thoughts, let me jump in. Let me defend Mal a little bit. Let me be the one dude on this show who will come to the defense of this boring character for a second.
I like Mal.
I think that Mal is being written as very insecure, but I think that, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that Lee Bardugo is trying to point out that like he shouldn't be insecure because he's actually insanely talented and very like useful and, you know, cool and loyal and, you know, has a big heart and all those different things. But I think that he's being written as being very insecure. And then I think this book so far has put him in a very sitcom situation where it's like, we're going to have to pretend that your girlfriend is married to the prince to get it. Are you okay with that? And instead of him being like, okay with that, he is, I think, understandably like, wait, what? No, we're not going to do that. We shouldn't want to do that. And he's, and they're pulling out the insecurity in him where it's like in the story, it was written that he almost breathed a sigh of relief when Alina was like, yeah, we're not doing that. He had to be like, yeah, okay, good. Cause I was worried. So I think that it's a very sitcom-y, fakey sort of situation. And I think that the other unfortunate thing is that all the other male characters, especially the ones that are a little bit of bad boys with an edge, are way more charismatic than Mal. So we're reading this story and we're like, why isn't she with any of those guys? And it's like, well,
Nikolai?
It's tough.
Exactly.
It's, you know, Ian Powell says, Mal seems insecure to understanding where his place is while balancing his support till that point where he takes Stormhund's idea as being his own plan. Oh, did he do that? Did he take the idea as it being his own plan? Did Mal do that in the story?
Yeah, Nikolai's very, very charismatic. So if you were doing a Dungeons and Dragons stat sheet, he would be a pirate, but then it calls himself a privateer with a great backstory. I think it was even Nick Swing that was like, thank you, new D&D character. You know, a pirate who's really a prince. Yes, please. His dexterity is pretty good, I guess, but, you know, constitution, who knows if he's going to live a long, sturdy life. But his charisma is just like a solid 1920. Like this guy can talk the, help me.
Pants?
Offer.
Woman?
Griffin.
Yeah, okay, cool. That was a good improv game, guys.
Okay.
Well done.
Okay.
I do think that I have more empathy for Mal the second go around, especially just thinking about what other people, you know, having conversations last week and the week before on the reaction of whether you liked Mal or not. And I do agree that he is insecure and he does seem to be worried about Alina sort of not necessarily him being threatened by her success, but more so worried that she won't need him anymore. She won't want him. She will leave him behind. And, you know, that is certainly a, you know, a sentiment I think most people can empathize with. But I do agree that I think the Tamarinian at one point earlier said, like, let me just defend the milk toast love interest, which made me giggle. But I will say also, I feel like I'm making personal progress, Maude, because years ago I would have been like all Darkling, which yes, I do still want Darkling to smooch whoever consents to smooch him. But Nikolai, I mean, I love him so much. And he is, someone in the chat as well pointed out, he's also, you know, a little insecure. He's a second son. He's been trying to prove himself. And he's definitely a people pleaser. He's a chameleon. You can tell he can shift to, you know, different versions of himself, the soldier, the prince, the privateer, you know, with no prep or anything. He feels like someone who can read other people and kind of mold himself just a little bit. He's still being authentic, I feel, but I just really like that he seems to be this like well of empathy and understanding, even though he's, you know, also... He
shows a lot of vulnerability, which is kind of what the Darkling did to manipulate the situation, so that... Exactly. This is where it all comes down. Mal lacks empathy in the way, or like vulnerability in that sense, because he's a tracker, he's a survivor, and that's sort of like a lot of people's survival mechanisms are the armor, the emotional armor that they wear. Oh, Maude. Okay, but Just like I felt that was really, really spot on. So he's all sort of like not vulnerable in that particular way. And then, yes, thank you, Kate. Great thing that I'm kind of going exactly into. Nikolai appears to be more emotionally intelligent, and he is being vulnerable. He is saying, yeah, look, I've heard the whispers about my lineage. Like, I could be a bastard. I don't ever want to have this conversation outside of this room, but with you, I will acknowledge this, and I accepted this as a part of me, which is actually probably, a good thing. But that's how I'm handling this, this emotional scarring from, what people are saying behind my back and to my face. And I loved those really, really sincere, genuine moments. The Darkling had it, but we realized that it was completely manipulative, but that's how he kind of lured Alina in, like with the shadows, being like, I have plans for you and I see you and I get you. And she's like, what? No one's seen me before, because Mal kept stoinking all these beautiful women in front of me. And then Mal's like, I don't know what to do with her. She's amazing. She's so great. It's always been just us two forever, but I don't want to screw it up. So I'm just going to be a flooze. And I think that, yeah, this is like the real sort of apparent thing that we're getting with Mal. Of course he's jealous. Of course, he was in the prime position for so long and they had each other. And she was a sure and definite thing. And she never had anyone else.
But he also took her for granted until she got
100%.
Yeah, which again is all very, understandable and believable. People deal with things differently. And also Miss Necromancer, I don't know if I would say I'm kind of a romantic person at heart, but I totally agree that Mal feels like an albatross. Like I felt that way in the last book when she finds her power, when she lets go of him and literally finds her power, which, yes, a little on the nose, but hey, YA. And not that YA isn't great, I love YA. But it felt like, oh, you found your power by letting him go, and now you're falling back into this. And
it's going to be interesting to see how the TV adaptation will tackle that story element, because I think that does carry a lot of weight with how people view Mal, and it's kind of, I think it struggles. And again, maybe I'm being too nice and maybe I'm being too forgiving, but I think that the book even struggles with that a little bit, because we did read the entire first book. She finally gets rid of thinking about this guy, and then she comes into her own as a more fully formed individual. And then he comes back, and the second book they're together. And so will the adaptation try to like refocus that a little bit or think about it differently? I don't know. Speaking of the adaptation, I think I want to ask this question. First of all, Mr. Thierry says, to be honest, I would love the books to be animated by the people that did Anastasia. I don't think that's an animation studio anymore. I'm pretty sure they are defunct, but yes, yeah. I could get some classic animated movie Anastasia vibes. Very cool.
Dimitri is kind of a perfect, like that vibe, the like smirky.
Yeah. Who is Dimitri in the book?
Nikolai.
Nikolai. Okay. Question
just
about
that sort of like.
Yes.
I love that vibe. And someone in the chat also was saying, I think Kate was saying, friends to lovers the trope can be done really well, but we're having some issues with Mal.
Sure. And Miss Necromancer says, no, Hector, we are too mean and too unforgiving. LOL. Well, that's fair. That's fair. Everybody do you. Just be the best you can be. That's all. Real quick about the adaptation. Rachel, Maude, are we feeling like the first season is going to be the first book and the second season is going to be the second book and so on and so forth?
Yeah, but then it's got the Six of Crows sort of interwoven within that as well.
So
what are we thinking? These are guesses. Rachel, how much of the show have you seen? The whole season?
I've still only watched the first. I'm trying to normally when and I am embargoed, so I can't obviously say anything except that I really enjoyed it. General statement, really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. But they are, incorporating the 3 characters, my loves, from the Crows duology into this story. So I think that I need a Crows spinoff. I need it, Netflix. We're going to need it because they have their own storyline after the events of this book, which could very well, become its own thing. I'm definitely really interested to see how they incorporate the different books and characters. tropes, especially among the
Interesting. So some great comments here. First of all, Chelsea Engel on Facebook is freaking out. She said, wait, Six of Crows are going to be in the Netflix show. Chelsea, did you miss our episode last week? We showed the trailer. We were geeking out. Everybody was flipping their minds. And then Ileana, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She said, I'm not convinced about the adaptation following the books. I noticed a few characters from the Six of Crows exactly in that trailer. So, okay, so that's interesting then. So one of the first things that is here in the script that we want to talk about, let's go back to focus on Nikolai. One of the questions is about fan casting, but I'm saying, are we not going to Nikolai? Because of the J, but also Nikolai, but also it's completely made up, and I'd have to hear an audiobook. I have no idea what Lee Bardugo wants it to sound like. I don't remember. But fan casting, we're talking about fan casting because this character has not been cast there's been no announcement of an actor playing this character yet, right? That's why I was thinking, oh, he might not show up until season 2, if season 1 ends roughly where the sort of climax for book 1 ended, which is a pretty big, and had a bit of a cliffhanger ending, and I think it would be smart for them to do that. But first question, in talking about Nikolai, and talking about Nikolai, do you like him? Do you trust him? Me? No, not at all. And let me tell you why. Because all of a sudden, we seem to have forgotten that our heroine was swept off of her feet and kind of romanced by Ben Barnes. I mean, the Darkling. Let's all take a drink. The Darkling. We don't have to. But
I'm drinking water, so this
smart. That he manipulated her in the first book. This character manipulated our protagonist. And the Nikolai character is so charismatic and so fun to read and so funny and so charming. But let me tell you this. He leaned in and he said, please don't kill me. And then planted a kiss on her without her consent. Let's not forget about that. That was a shitty move. That was really crummy.
Begging for forgiveness instead of asking for permission.
And it's like, look, I got no problem with 2 consenting adults in on the plan. If they both are in agreement about the plan, talk about the plan. Talk about the plan. Even if you do improvisational acting on a stage, you will talk to your fellow performers beforehand and be like, okay, what's off limits? What's okay? Okay, look, if I'm in a scene with somebody and,
this is a man who's trying to be king.
We're building up to a kiss. You can kiss me. It's fine. We're on a stage. We're all in the same troupe. We're all in on it. But the fact that he did that, and I didn't hear anybody in the chat bring that up. I didn't hear either of you two bring that up. And I was like, no, Nikolai, no, sir. No, thank you. No means no. I would have kicked him in the balls, not the shin. She was being nice.
True.
She kicked him twice in the shin, and in front of Mal. Mal saw it. Then he was on his horse and he was all sad about it because he saw it.
What was he doing?
He was on his horse like...
He's all sad about it because he's hot.
Guarding, Alina was like, did he see? Oh, he saw. Look at him on his horse. He's sad. Shoot. I didn't mean for him
My
to
name
see
is
that.
Mal and I'm sad.
Mal is mad. It was showbiz. He deserved to be kicked after that. Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
Don't think he's very trustworthy, but I love him.
That's fair.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all, but sad galloping. I love their dynamic, and I think I love a good banter. I'm sure there's a trope name for it that someone in the chat can remind me, but I love the sort of, I don't even think you would call it enemies to lovers necessarily, but also I
can tell you Cordelia and Xander season 2 of Buffy.
Yeah.
You know what else it is?
No, it's more like
it might be the classic. I've heard this before.
Dimitri and Anastasia are having their little kind of,
I think if we're going to go back to TV tropes, labeling stuff, I'll do the whole summary. And then he goes like this, it goes like this. Television gave us Jump the Shark. We all know what that means and what that refers to. I feel like the phrase here is, what was the name of the show with Bruce Willis in the 80s where it was like, will they, won't they? And there was a lot of like contentious, like angry flirting. And who was it? Was it
a TV series?
Was it Sybil Shepherd? What was the show that he was on?
Wait, Bruce Willis.
Yeah, Bruce Willis. Oh, this is
That's it.
one of the
Moonlighting.
first.
What's going on
Yes.
with moonlighting?
Moonlighting. Thank you.
Or
Moonlighting,
any
which
kind of, I
was
guess TV in general, there's a
Yeah.
lot of
Wow, our
Yeah.
chat knows stuff.
Sybil
Our
Shepherd.
chat's older than we thought.
I thought it was Moonlighting. I also was about to get it confused with the movie Moonstruck, different. But Moonlighting is this classic phrase that is a classic phrase that means like you have two characters that are just like constantly sort of bickering and kind of, teasing each other, and it's like they hate each other. And some of us are olds. Yes. Some of us like old stuff.
And some of us are newborn babies.
Yeah, I was just born. My first Star Wars movie was Force Awakens. I'm a baby. Okay.
My brother was born in the year 2000, and I'll never get over it because he's much
crazy.
younger than me. And it's
Wow.
like, what?
Wow.
What?
That's nuts.
Anyway, no
moonlighting between Nikolai and Alina, I think a little bit. That could be the phrase that you're looking for, Rachel. Yeah. Maybe.
I like that dynamic, and
sexual tension could have done it. We could have saved 5 minutes and just said sexual tension.
Or like romancing the stone.
Yes.
That vibe. I'm very into that, and I just think he's a fun character, and also I loved the Darkling, and he's clearly very evil. So like my barometer for fictional characters I want to smooch is like it's definitely lower than my barometer for real life.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So, Maude, how are you feeling about Nikolai? Do you trust him? Do you like him?
Oh, I would trust him with my ovaries. Next question.
Got it. And Rachel, you can't really answer it because you have read it, but I just think I guess here's the question I want to ask you in your second read through now. Are you appreciating the early chapters here where we meet the Nikolai Stromhold persona? For like, how are you picking up on stuff and you're like, oh, cool, I like this.
Yeah, I think it's even more evident to me how this book, I think one of the major themes of the whole series is, as in many, fantasy, sci-fi genre, YA stories, but this concept of power, why people want it, how they use it, do they want it, and so these different ways of, and the consequences of a lot of those choices. And so Alina is not only, resisting the darkness that is sort of calling to her through the Darkling and through her own power and her desire for power after, being probably on the low end of the totem pole her whole life and shutting things out. But she's also dealing so much with the guilt that she feels over the events of the last book. And yet we have two sort of princes. There's the Dark Prince. They literally call him that. And the prince who isn't supposed to be king, but thinks he will do a better job. And they both are doing things that you could consider kind of questionable in varying degrees. One, full murder. One, trying to trick your brother into giving this up. And they both think that they're doing the right thing overall. They're thinking about big picture, the end, kind of Machiavellian. But then you also have Mal, which I do kind of respect, that when he goes before the king, he says, I believe that this was right, but most people think that what they're doing is right. And that doesn't mean that it's not desertion or it's not this thing. And
it's
so
great. It's gray with it all. It's not as black and white as I think it all is. I just have
and Nikolai is kind of like the sun, almost the light version of the Darkling, and that's what mostly stuck out to me through this read through is actually the parallels between those characters who don't seem alike.
Wait, quick question for clarification: is the Darkling the brother of Nikolai?
No. They just call him the Dark Prince, and he wants to kind of rule.
Gotcha. Okay.
For peace, for the benefit of.
Listen, if anybody could point me out to a, as long as it doesn't spoil it, a family tree, I would like to look at that. I think that would be helpful. It's not as crazy. This isn't Game of Thrones. I can pretty much keep track of everybody, but some kind of a chart would be visually helpful for me. Here's a thing I want to ask, because we've already sort of talked about Mal. Everybody's thoughts on Mal have been made evidently clear. We do not have to retouch that topic.
I am liking him more in retrospect, hearing your opinion, and also after watching the first 2 episodes.
First couple episodes, okay.
We're finding ourselves, as a YA novel, we find ourselves with another love triangle. With the woman is always choosing and has options.
Of course.
So nice.
As it should be, as it is in real life. As it is in real life. Yes. Yes. Every woman has so many choices. Yeah, of course. Of course. Absolutely. Here's the thing I want to talk about. Let's talk about the mysterious connection between Alina and the Darkling. I'm getting major Kylo Ren, Rey vibes with this. This is Last Jedi. It's a force. It's a force dyad. It's a force dyad. Yeah. What happened, Maude? What do you think happened when she saw the Darkling in the crazy pitch blackness of the what is it called? The fold. The fold, the unseen. Yeah. Yes, look, I think that's exactly right. I think that even though they couldn't point to it on a map, they know where each other is the entire time. And I think a lot like Kylo Ren and Rey, it's that thing where they can kind of see the surroundings and like they can kind of see that location and like the understanding of what's going on. But I don't think that they could kind of teleport or anything like that or know of the exact location at any one time. It's just more of that connection that's happening. Yeah, she freaked out when he popped up. I was actually a lot more concerned about these shadow demon things that are happening. Nathan S., what is that a reference to? Who will it be? The black-haired sad boy or the brown-haired sad boy? Yeah.
My forever dilemma.
Just every love triangle, every story like this. Yeah. Good point. But I think in the TV show, Mal also has black hair. Like, right? He's not going to be a blue-eyed guy. He's
Avery Adventurous.
Boom.
Avery Adventurous.
What a hunk.
Did a really great comment saying a love triangle. Yes, I saw a tweet. That's the one. I saw a tweet once that said a love triangle is actually just a love corner and the woman is back into it. So great.
That's pretty great.
That's perfect.
That's pretty great. Yeah, that's pretty good.
No problem.
But that's why I've always liked the and maybe it's because I haven't read as many X-Men comics as a lot of people have, like fans of the X-Men, and the movies did it differently, but the love triangle in the X-Men was always like a couple and then sad Wolverine off to the side. Like that's how it always felt, where he was like, oh,
he never really had a chance with Jean Grey. Jean Grey were a couple before he showed up.
I know.
And he was pining.
Yeah, maybe my reading of some of the comics are off, but it was always Wolverine just being sad, being like, Jean. And then when Jean Grey died, yeah, but the movies were full on. Like as soon as Hugh Jackman showed up, Femke Janssen was like, "Why am I even with this other guy? I should be with Hugh Jackman." And they kind of, like they killed off Cyclops in the third one, and
I know
the whole thing.
James Marsden always
one of the funniest post seeing the movie in a movie theater experiences with my best friend from high school, Alex, who's like. Mm-hmm. Ultimate nerd, and I had my feelings about it and didn't enjoy it, but the group I was with in high school was a lot. Was this X-Men 3? Is it what you're talking about? 2006 X-Men 3, and I think we were in high school and just the most pure form of nerd that I think
what I remember
my boyfriends ever wore.
The only thing I remember from X-Men 3 watching it in the theaters, and this is kind of sad, but this is like where the state of superhero movies were at the time, were that right before the third X-Men movie came out, something had gone viral on the internet, which was a video of a really funny comedian dubbing his voice over the old X-Men cartoon, and his catchphrase was, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch." That was like a super popular internet video. It was hysterical. They did a bunch of them. It was
and then they
funny.
put it in the
So, but as I was watching X-Men 3, when the Juggernaut, Vinnie Jones, played by Vinnie Jones, first showed up on screen, somebody in the theater said, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch." And then everybody laughed, and we all kind of collectively were like, yeah, this isn't a great movie, but let's just have a good time.
Yeah.
And then later in the movie, he says it, and of course it got a cheer. We were all like, unbelievable. Can't believe they did our stupid joke. Anyway, I didn't mean to again distract us and talk about X-Men, but I love the X-Men. But thanks, Chelsea. Thank you, Chelsea. That's right. Star Wars, Shadow and Bone, X-Men. Give me more. Well,
that's what we got for you.
Yeah.
Don't you worry. We love a tangent on this show.
Fact, we can find a parallel between any book we cover and a plot point in Harry Potter.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, so
and Hero's Journey. There were a couple of really good questions, comments about your initial question, and Maude, you brought up also the shadow creatures.
Yeah,
so there were a couple of comments asking, is it that Alina has a form of PTSD and she's seeing flashes of him because she's been through all of this trauma at one time, and I think that's very clear that she is at the beginning of the book. Because not only is she kind of dealing with all of these nightmares and the guilt and the heaviness and literally wearing the collar that was going to, bind her to this person and give up her agency.
She does not wear black. She's no longer wearing black. I never want to see you in black again. I get where he's coming from, but as soon as you start controlling anything about a woman, that's a red flag.
Yep. That's a hard no for me. But I also think that because she finally knew what it felt like to open herself up and feel her own power, and now she can't use it, and she's just like even sicklier than she was before. But yeah, there are a couple of different things.
She just needs to go supernova.
There's also, is it the bite from one of those shadow creatures? Is it something with the antlers? So I want to know theories from y'all about their connection, those shadow creatures. Yes, Maude.
All right. I'm talking video game lingo right now to explain how the Darkling now has the ability to summon shadow people. He had a little thing called the evolution and the skill tree. So the more experience you get, the more of the skill tree that you can unlock. And that was the next ability. With the experience points that he's harnessed, he's unlocked the next ability. And that's what that is. He couldn't do it before. He selected on the skill tree. He's able to do it now.
Gotcha. I would like to say that I am not having a tough time per se, but I'm not quite trying to keep track of everything in terms of the lore, the rules, now we can do a force dyad. Now we can do force projection. Now this is this and this is this. But I'm not really questioning any of it either. I know that in this section that Alina learns that she's like recalling some of the lore she learned in the first book. And she goes, what if I also connected to this sea creature that we just killed? And she was having a conversation. Yeah, she was having
the stag. And then all of a sudden it was like, there's a sea whip.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not real.
Sure.
2 days later, they found it and killed it.
Well, because they had Mal.
Right.
It's like a demigod then.
Yeah.
He is the best tracker. And the fact that he, the Darkling can't find any of these on his own. He actually needs Mal. And luckily for him, Alina doesn't want Mal to die. So he, two birds.
And this is what I was thinking as well, where it's like the Darkling's been around for centuries, a very, very long time. People think that he's ancestors. It turns out it's been him all along. So I'm like, what is the missing piece? Why is this? Because the whole Chosen One prophecy thing that we see, which is a massive trope, and I like for it to make sense. If he's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, what is the perfect storm? What is the stars aligning for this particular moment to happen now? And I absolutely think it is both Alina and Mal. And I really want us to recognize the fact that Mal has a supernatural, almost-esque ability that he can hunt. And I'm going to go real book nerd on people. There's a series called Graceling. and you had the protagonist and like the love interest, and his whole skill set was to survive at like whatever cost. And I think that Mau's tracking is almost that. He's so proficient in surviving and like that whole tracking thing, but it's at this next level where it's like only he could have found these mythical creatures. And I kind of wish like that they played on this instinct a little bit more, because like instinctually he knew where the where they were in the
Volcra.
Thank you. Instinctually,
the nest.
Instinctually, he knew where the stag was, and like
I just want to
for ages.
Can we real quick, Maude? Can you keep talking? But can we actually close up on Rachel, because she was doing something with her mouth as soon as Maude said that? If we can swap me with Rachel. See, Rachel did this great. So she was like smiling. She kind of covered her mouth a little bit. So Maude, keep talking about your.
all the time.
Okay, but just
now.
Let's stay on Rachel. Yes.
Supernatural tracker. He's so he has a gift as well, and his gift is like a Grisha gift that maybe hasn't happened yet. And this is my prediction. And he's actually just as gifted. Someone explained to me why light is the most powerful thing. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, we got fire, we got flamethrowers, and
she just licked her lips. She just licked her lips. That's her tell. Okay, we're in.
All right. So
we got it.
Now blessed. He's Grisha. But I don't know why he didn't pass the test.
I have no poker face, and I am trying so hard every time there's a theory to not do anything. So
you're doing great. I'm just teasing you. You're doing great.
The ingredients are Mau the Massive Tracker. You've got Alina the Sunbeam Goddess Saint. Because she can't evolve to the Saint until she's got these three: the Fireberg, the Stag, and
yes, that's right.
The trio. But you can only get the trio if you've got the supernatural tracker. So Mau's gonna find them. She's gonna wear them. That's how it's happening.
Listen,
but I don't know why the Darkling doesn't see Mau as more of a threat or an asset, or wants to control him and manipulate him, since he is a crucial key in this as well. My arm always does this when I get excited.
People underestimate Mau. I think Maude, you're onto something. Maybe not, Rachel, but I think Maude, I think you're onto something, because everything you were just describing was reminding me of how I was feeling reading the first book and a half, in that it felt like, first of all, I get Star Wars vibes where Rey is Alina, but then like Poe Dameron is the greatest pilot in the galaxy. And fans, since we've had movies with Poe Dameron and Oscar Isaac, have been like, can he use the Force? Because he's really good. And now the same sort of thing happened with Finn. He was just like a stormtrooper that didn't want to be evil. Can he use the Force? And then maybe the third movie revealed maybe he can, is maybe what he was trying to yell at Rey. Who knows? But it also reminded me of Avatar: The Last Airbender, where Aang and Katara are the benders, but then Sokka is like the normal human guy. But look, what other skills does he bring to the table? He is a bit of a tracker himself. He's a bit of a survivalist. But, he's got the boomerang, the weapons that he would learn, and he became a bit of a... Yeah, kiss the moon, girlfriend. But then he became a bit of a like military strategist in his own right in that show, when these kids were fighting this war against an evil nation and stuff. So what I'm saying is, it would not surprise me either way if the book defined like Mau as being just a normal human in this world, but he was just super skilled. Or if the book actually did say the stuff you're saying, Maude, where it's like, you know what? He can also tap into the whatever. He can utilize some powers.
Rachel!
And I know, it's bad. Rachel, it's so bad.
I was reading the comments.
Oh, okay.
I was reading the comments. I checked out for a second because I was... Yeah.
Let's bring up...
What did you say? Comments. I honestly was checked out.
We said you were great, and you're doing a great job. What are the comments?
I really was reading it because I really like the theories about the Volcra and these. Yes, I felt like
that's what I thought too.
And it was horrible and horrifying.
How is it not? He sucked up a new area, a new city. So every single person, and the fact that I really liked the list, and she wanted to learn every single name on that. And it reminded her of the woman holding the baby that got sucked into it, the old man who couldn't run fast enough. And then, there are casualties here. Yeah. And I thought that the importance of learning the names and the fact that these Volcra are sounding more and more human as we go along. I think exactly you, Shizzy, I thought that exact same thing, that this new nest is the fact that they've been in here and it's a rebirth
Absolutely.
of humans to Volca.
I also expect in the same way, again, if you watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, that story, I'm going to spoil it, has a beautiful ending where like the main character, instead of killing the bad guy, taps into like a new power to like, you know, take away the power of the bad guy. And it's this beautiful, non-violent, you know, very Buddhist, very amazing ending. I think that Alina is going to be able to do something to actually turn Volcra people back, to revert them back into normal humans. By the end of the third book, when all the dust has settled, something like that's going to happen.
What's the third one going to be? Because she's got the gauntlets, she's got the collar. It's got to be a crown.
Got to be a crown. Got to be a crown.
Got to be a
crown. Got to be. It's going to be like a Scarlet Witch crown. It's going to be this cool thing that gives her
Scarlet Witch is
more power. She's very cool. So, speaking of this, hey, don't worry, you're going to see her again in March of 2022 with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So, next question I got for everybody.
Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday.
And Maude.
We learn more about the amplifiers in this book. Does the world building draw you in? Are you following that thread? Just real quick, my answer, like I said, I'm not trying to keep track of everything. I'm letting everything kind of wash over me. And I think that the book is not confusing, and it does do a good job of, once we learn like a big piece of info, that or the other characters will basically like reiterate it and go, wait, so are you saying this is this? And I'm like, yes, thank you for explaining that for me. Cool. Got it. I'm in. So haven't been super keeping track, but it's not something that is the world building is not something that is drawing me into the world. I'm just expecting to learn more information, however the story deems like to give it out. So what do you think, Rachel?
Well, I think number one, the way you describe, you know, a mystery or a problem in front of you makes me think you probably have a secure attachment, because you're just like, I'll just let the story will tell me. Whereas I'm like, I must figure this out right now. I have to solve it.
Yeah.
I also really,
I have a theory for one thing with the Firebird, because she saved the stag and then it got murdered. She killed with Mal's help, and I'm wondering if that has a bond, or if the bond between the Darkling and Alina is the bite. The third one, I wanted to tame the Firebird, or convince the Firebird to fight alongside. What? Familiar? That would be nice. So what's the, like, you save one, you kill one, you tame one, you know, like so that's what I would like for that.
Different types of yeah. Ooh, Nathan S says, everyone come show us your sad boys in the after show. Yes, please. I also need to just, before I dive into a little bit of the lore stuff, we could save it for the after show, because I have a non-timely fan cast for Nikolai. Like, it's someone in the past that I think is perfect. But yeah, I like this book because I think it's a little more clear what the journey is and the lore, how it all works together
from the beginning.
The first book, I think, you know, throws you into the world, which generally I like. I know Hector, sometimes you're iffy about that. But I do feel like, because there is so much that she has to learn about, it's so much more focused on her and the Darkling, and the amplifiers are just a part of his plan around her. And in this one, once she has, you know, the second amplifier and gets kind of Dark Phoenix scary for a minute on the boat, or Wanda Maximoff, as the case may be, that the Book of Saints and kind of looking into their history and figuring out what these other, you know, living amplifiers might be, I think is handled better in this book than some of the kind of background in the first book.
She got a really, really quick education. We don't have as much about it. The one thing that I do need from the lore, though, that I don't feel like we've gotten enough of, why is a Sunbringer the most important one? Yes, it can, you know, solve the rift, and it, you know, but it's like
that's the main.
It's just, it's not enough. And she's getting preyed upon and worshipped, and she's such an integral
There's never been one. I think the point is that there's never been one. There's only been the line of Darkling. They think it's a title. It's actually all the same dude, but I think it's because they're so rare.
So they find that balance in the Force. With the dark comes the light.
And also, you look at and another reason I like this book too is that it gets even more into the court, which is going to be, obviously, we just got to the tip of that when they get back in this reading section. So next week we'll talk about the court more, but the huge disparity, obviously, in living conditions, in how the followers, of the apparat are also forbidden from, entering the city because of the apparat obviously poisoned the king in some way.
Let's be real.
Oh yeah, and looking at how they're all living, and the war is sort of, and the Shadowfold are given as the reason why everything is like this, versus, power corrupting, or, different other reasons that especially the more religious people who do believe in the saints in this world, a living saint. Like, I'm just imagining if there were a living saint and my Catholic grandma was still alive, like, she would just, make a cheesecake and head to wherever that living saint is and be like, I made you a cheesecake. What can I do for you? Like, she would do anything. And so I think there's this, it's not like they know she's a fairly normal girl and that she couldn't control her powers for a long time, or any of the things that make her an actual person. They're just hearing about her, and they've heard about a mythical sun summoner for so long and hoped for this thing that she's not real to them. It's not her. Mm-hmm. She's more of a concept, I think.
I want to talk about Alina for a second, because I suffer from comic book brain, and I haven't, again, this is something that hasn't taken me out of the story, but I would like a as clear as you can definition of Alina's powers at this point, at this stage. What are her powers? What can she do?
The only thing I can think of is Bulbasaur or like Venusaur or some shit. They cast Sunbeam. It was super effective. That's why I need more lore about sun.
Okay.
Because when you're looking at someone
she can use the cut with light. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, she can like, why?
So she can make light blades?
Yeah, but like, you have to, there are heart renderers. Someone can stop your heart from beating.
Right.
How is that not the most dangerous? Like, literally, it stops life force. And she's like, son.
Well,
so powerful. Like, no wonder she needs 3 bloody amplifiers until she can turn into a damn star.
But that does, Maude, thank you. That's a very lovely rant with the shampoo hair flip at the end. But that does go into my question of, like, how has she used those powers so far, other than just being able to erect a force field around the ship that goes into the fold? But she has used it. Has she like used it? Like, is it more like Jubilee from the X-Men, where it's like fireworks, or is it more like lasers coming out of my hands? Because you did mention
a wash of light.
There's a blade, but everybody just kind of
there's the cut. There's the cut. It's similar to the Darkling.
Okay, and what can does he have? And he has like, he can control darkness, and that means like a dark force, inky goo.
So the different Grisha, the more common ones that everyone else is, the Corporalki deal with the corporal form, with the body, so they can change your appearance, they can slow down your heart, they can heal you. And Alina is the most scared of the heart renders from the get-go because of that. And I think they're the scariest. It's like, what, you could just, what? That's like just horrifying. And then the fabricators, more like engineering, use their hands. It's more of like messing with objects. And then the Etherealki, which technically you would have Alina and the Darkling as Etherealki, are, using the elements. So wind, fire, water.
Got it.
And then we have the dark and the light. So they're manipulating the darkness and the light so that, much like the tide makers can control the waves, they're controlling the light and darkness in the world. And they both he can spread his darkness kind of over everyone, and she can protect them with that ball of light. And the way that he uses the cut in the first book, this like just...
She's figured out how to do that, yeah.
You can do that with the light now.
Ian Powell's gotten in my head and said it better than I did, which was, there isn't a lot of action. It's a little bit up. There isn't a lot of action to show what she can do. Just talking. that she has power. And I think
and potential. There you go.
And that, like, for me, I'm like, why is she so revered if we're not seeing it? But I think that that honestly could be like on purpose, where it's like the talk, and then you get to see it. So this unveiling of the
Something
power.
cool.
Well,
Just real quick, great comment from Kate Ellistad. Kate says, I think also we are reading this from Alina's POV. She doesn't even know the extent of her powers. And like I think we're all in agreement with that. I think that's very true. And I think that the book's doing a good job of that. But I was just literally asking, I'm like, I know that Mr. Thierry compared it to like Cloak and Dagger, like the character Dagger can make little, knives of light. And I'm like, okay, that's a little bit more tangible for me so far.
R.I.P. to that great show.
R.I.P. We did an after show for season 1 of Cloak and Dagger.
That was so fun,
yeah.
though.
Yeah. Emma in the Facebook chat says, I envision the cut like a lightsaber, a beam of pure light that cuts, through the books, her and the Darkling trade off new uses of their powers. I mean, it's Star Wars for sure. It's, I would not be surprised if
gotta level up each book.
Yeah. If the story, or if Maude wants to keep using video game language, if they evolve each book. But that's level up is also more video game accurate, I think. We just wanted to talk about Pokemon.
I also think Clever Girl makes a really good point. I wonder if she isn't in danger of being consumed emotionally, if not physically, by her own power as it grows.
I want a direction.
Yeah, and then also someone, Game Wizard, said she hasn't really had a chance to test out her power. The Darkling wanted her strong enough to use it, but weak enough to be controlled. And she is learning, from the Second Army that he leads. He's in charge, all of those things. And also, there hasn't been a Sun Summoner before. Maybe they don't know everything she's capable of. And she didn't want to be Grisha. Then she found her powers. Then she had to hide again. So she hasn't really, it's almost, it feels like she hasn't had a chance to come into her own because everything keeps going wrong and life keeps kind of just ruining her plans, which is something I like that. I like that she isn't like, now I'm the best at everything. She has no idea what she's doing. And
it's true.
And is kind of just chasing.
Maybe we find Bugda again somewhere.
Say that again, Maude?
Maybe Bugda comes back. Maybe we get Bugda back to like
teach her how to fly on a broom.
Access,
because that's the actress. RJ Smith in the chat at 5:56 p.m. says, hello everyone. Hi RJ Smith, we got about 4 minutes left of the show. So
hi,
glad you could join us. But
you
RJ,
watch the VOD.
Exactly. And if you weren't aware, thank you again for saying hi. And if you weren't aware, RJ Smith, we have an after show that we're going to go do right now. Maude, why don't you tell everybody about that? Switch with Maude.
Hi. Yes, join us for the after show with Geek Bomb, where we take audio calls from you. You can become a Geek Bomb Patreon member and let's chat after this. Patreon.com. Like I'm reading a script right now. We everything we didn't cover in this particular conversation. Usually we get a little bit more personal. What resonates with us. We talk anecdotes and personal stories in it as well. But it's also a really great chance, instead of just writing a comment and hoping that it pops up here, we actually get to talk and chat. You can still write if you want to. There's a way to do that. But we can also converse together, which is really cool and makes it feel like a genuine book club. Instead of you watching a book club, you get to be a big part of one.
Absolutely. We want to thank everybody for joining us. Nathan S. says the after show is the best. In case you missed it earlier in all the various chats, Lee as Nerdist was posting in there and posting as Lost the Numbers in the Twitch chat. But your homework for next week, it's very simple. Finish the second book. Finish the book. That's it. Finish the second one. Finish it. From evil. Who knows what I'm quoting? Who knows what I'm quoting? Spider-Man. I'm quoting Spider-Man. When Willem Dafoe crashes into Aunt May's room as she's praying at night, and he's like, "Finish it!" And then when she's like, "Deliver us from evil," and then she gets so scared and goes to the hospital, and then Tom Maguire runs in like, "Aunt May," and he's a potato. So the homework for next week is to finish the book, and I want to leave everybody before we jump over into the after show. And this question is going to be for you, Rachel, for you, Maude, because now we got 3. I want to know everybody's. FMK, you've got Mal, Darkling, Nikolai, Those are your FMKs. I want to hear it from everybody in the after show. You can post it right here in the YouTube and in the Twitch and in the Facebook chat, but I'm already going to stop looking at those chats. So if you want to participate, so
Nice.
rude. If you want us to see who you would marry, who you would F, and who you would kill, then head on over to the Geek Bomb after show where we're going to be talking about that. I already know my picks. I already know them.
And
So
when we're done with this trilogy, we're going to need a new book to read. So send us your recommendations in the chat, on Twitter, on Instagram, on the Facebook, or in the after show, #Nerdist Book Club. Let us know what we should read next.
yeah. So we'll see you guys in the after show, and we will see you next week. Go finish the book and see you then. Bye.